Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving headfirst into a spectacle that literally takes over the globe every 4 years. We're talking, of course, about the FIFA World Cup. I mean, it is undeniably the biggest sporting event on the planet, right? For one solid month, billions of us are glued to our screens cheering on our favorite teams. But behind those dazzling goals and the roaring crowds, there is a fascinating, almost unbelievable economic machine at work. Entire nations willingly pour massive, and I mean truly incomprehensible fortunes into hosting this single event. So whether you're a die-hard football fan or just someone who's super curious about how global economics actually operate at this scale, this is a business you need to understand. Let's look past the pitch and examine the real business behind the beautiful game.
So here's the big question. You always see countries fighting tooth and nail for the right to host the World Cup. But does the economics behind this massive event actually create wealth for the host nation? Or is it just a giant financial illusion? Basically, are we looking at a gold mine or a massive financial trap? Remember, we're talking about huge shifts in international business and billions of taxpayer dollars on the line here. To figure out the truth, we just have to follow the money.
Let's kick things off with part one, the astronomical cost.
When a country actually wins a bid to host the World Cup, they aren't just signing up to, put up a few extra football pitches and hire some extra security. Oh no, they are committing to a monumental logistical and infrastructural nightmare. Take Qatar's estimated spend for the 2022 tournament, for example. $220 billion. Just take a second to let that sink in. $220 billion. To put that into perspective for you, that single event budget is literally larger than the entire GDP of many countries. It's an astronomical concentration of wealth, usually funded by taxpayers, all poured into one single month-long event.
Now you might be wondering, what exactly does a colossal budget like that actually pay for? Well, it's way more than just a few stadium renovations. In Qatar's case, they constructed multiple state-of-the-art brand new arenas. They built a completely new metro system just to move the fans around. They laid down miles and miles of fresh highways. I mean, they essentially built an entire city from scratch, basically just for this tournament. It paints a pretty clear picture, doesn't it? Host nations often have to build massive infrastructure completely from the ground up just to handle the sudden influx of fans and to meet FIFA's incredibly strict standards.
Which brings us to part two. Who actually gets rich?
If a host country is dropping hundreds of billions of dollars to build out entire cities, where is all that money going once the whistle blows? Well, we have to unmask the somewhat ironic business model of the tournament's biggest financial winner, and that is FIFA itself. On paper, FIFA's legal status is officially a non-profit organization, but in reality, their revenue numbers look a lot more like a massive Wall Street powerhouse. And the real kicker here is that, while acting as a non-profit, FIFA generally gets to walk away with billions of dollars completely tax-free.
So how exactly does a non-profit generate that kind of massive wealth during a World Cup cycle? Trust me, the vast majority of this money is not coming from the stadium hot dog stands. It's driven by three main streams: television broadcasting rights, massive global ticket sales, and corporate sponsorships. Just think about the astronomical fees that global brands are willing to pay just to have their logos flash on those digital boards on the sidelines for 90 minutes. And all of that money, it flows directly into FIFA's pockets.
All right, moving right along to part three, the white elephant hangover.
So what about the host nation's balance sheet? We know FIFA takes the broadcasting and sponsorship billions. But to be perfectly fair, there absolutely is a short-term economic boom for the host country. They get this sudden massive influx of cash as thousands upon thousands of global fans flood the local economy. They book out literally every hotel room, they eat at the local restaurants, they ride the transit systems, and they buy mountains of merch. For that 1 month, it is an absolute flurry of wealth and local spending. From the outside looking in, it feels like a massive economic win.
But once that month-long party ends, the hangover kicks in hard. Economists are constantly warning about this grim reality known as white elephants. These are those massive state-of-the-art stadiums or sometimes entire transit hubs that were built specifically for the event. They cost millions of dollars every single year just to maintain, but they are rarely ever used after the tournament wraps up. Take the 2014 World Cup in Brazil, for example. They built the nearly billion-dollar Estadio Nacional in Brasilia. After the tournament, the local team couldn't draw anywhere near enough fans to justify those massive maintenance bills. So the exterior of this stunning architectural marvel was actually temporarily repurposed as a parking lot for city buses. The short-term spending we just talked about almost never covers these massive long-term maintenance bills. Think about it. You build an 80,000-seat mega stadium for the World Cup final. But once the global fans fly home, the host country is just left with their standard local football leagues. And in a lot of cases, those local leagues simply aren't big enough to fill these colossal venues. So you end up with this really tragicomic situation: billion-dollar architectural marvel sitting completely empty, rotting away, and silently draining millions from the host nation's budget year after year.
Let's wrap this up with part 4, the soft power flex.
If we look at the pure math here, spending billions on infrastructure, missing out on the massive TV rights, and getting stuck with expensive, empty stadiums, it honestly seems like a terrible financial risk. So why do countries still fight tooth and nail for the privilege of hosting? Why take on that kind of risk? Well, the answer is soft power. For the host nation, the true currency of the World Cup isn't necessarily about immediate cash return on investment, it's about global branding. Hosting puts a country dead center on the world stage for an entire month. It advertises the nation as a stable hub for tourism, international relations, and long-term investments from foreign corporations. Quite simply, it's a massive flex of a nation's wealth and capability.
To summarize the core economic dynamic we've been exploring today, the relationship is actually quite clear once you break it all down. FIFA secures immediate, guaranteed wealth through their broadcasting and sponsorship rights. They take the cash. The host nations, on the other hand, they are making a high-stakes gamble. They're playing the long game, hoping that their massive upfront investments will eventually pay off in the form of elevated global influence, increased tourism, and powerful international partnerships.
The FIFA World Cup is just so much more than a football tournament. It really is a fascinating look at how wealth and global business standards operate at the absolute highest levels. The fans get their entertainment, FIFA gets its billions, and the host nation gets the spotlight. But I want to leave you with this final thought to consider today. When you look at those empty stadiums left behind and the astronomical bills paid, is hosting the World Cup actually worth the billions, or is it just a grand financial illusion? Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and keep questioning the economics behind the world's biggest stages.